So could you tell me the first time you DJ'd in a party, and what was the time you realized that you wanted to do that as a job?
Well, actually, it started like this. I was collecting records because my father, because I was into hip hop, and I started collecting records at the age of 12, 13. I started buying records, and I had my first turntable. And my father had like this big place which he didn't use anymore, which was like a factory before. So he rented it out to other people. Because it wasn't being used as a factory anymore. And one of the people who were renting a space there were like a PA firm who were doing sound system and who were like the local disco bar DJs thing, who doing all these private parties that you can rent for parties in the city where I was born, in Tielt. And I was playing records on my turntable, but they already had a mixer. And they had two turntables, so they allowed me to play on their system. And I was like 12, 13 years old. And like when they bought new speakers, they came to ask me, look, we're gonna test our new speakers. Can you come in and tell us what you think of our new sound system? So actually, I was like 12, 13 years old, and I was already like into this thing. But it was just because I wasn't really planning to be a DJ. I was a dancer at first. It all started with dancing for me. That's why I like funky grooves, and I don't like only hip hop. I like dance music. And I started I was really into dance movies, and I was really into the Kids from Fame. That's that show. And then the movie Fame, and then I was into Flashdance. Through Flashdance, I discovered the Rocksteady crew. At the same time, I discovered the album Wild Style. Back in the days, you had those trucks who came to your neighborhood, and you could like rent out records. And I would discover like this electro album with Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, and Planet Patrol and Johnson Crew, Spaces the Place. But that was like really early stuff. I don't know, I always say that I started in 1987, but I think that must have been 1984, 85, when I was really already like into hip hop big time. Like hip hop was my thing. I was already watching those dance movies. Then I started watching Beat Street. And when I got to Beat Street and breaking and all those things, what was funny, my parents were working at Knokke Le Zoet in Knokke in Belgium. During the summer, they had a little shop there with a brocante, antique stuff, And so I was there all summer. And I don't know, back in those days, I was like, I was living on the country, and I was really so into hip hop. Everywhere I would go to the market with my father. I went to the market in Woluwe, in Les Marolles in Brussels. I was sitting there, when I was 12 years old. I went to all the record stores. I was really into collecting records already at the age of 12, 13. And it went really well, because I went to all the flea markets, and I was picking up a lot of stuff. But at that time, I never thought that I would become a DJ. I was just a dancer, and I was really into the, passion with the music. So what happened, I met these guys. I was walking everywhere with my radio, my ghetto blaster, and I was really demonstrating like hip hop culture is here. Fuck rock and roll. And everywhere I came, in every city, I met people. I met people in Brussels. I met people there in Knokke. I met the Zulu Rockers. I met the Magical Band, which is like the first breakdance cruise from Belgium. When the first hip-hop party in Belgium came, like in 1987 at Samson in Antwerp, I met everyone there, like Daddy K, Deffy J, everybody from the whole scene in Brussels. And everybody already heard about this kid, TLP, like, yeah, he's a rapper and stuff. And I was breakdancing. But even at that time, I had already been on my teacher in school when we had music class, and he said, yeah, they're looking for somebody in Germany for school TV who's into hip hop. So I was 15 years old, and my mom said, it's okay, you can go. They put me on the train to Cologne, and I went on a TV show, like for school TV, and I was rapping and breakdancing with some German guys there. So that's why I say, my career is like 25 years, 26 years and running, because I was actually performing already at 15. You know what I mean? Like they would say Justin Bieber is doing that shit now. So I was like, you know, I was performing everywhere I went. I put my box down. I started breakdancing. When I was with those guys, the Zulu Rockers and Magical Band, they were like, yeah, you can join us, because they were using my ghetto blaster. And afterwards I could go around and collect the money for them. So I was like the white boy with all these black guys breakdancing. But then the way it evolved, first I had a group with... I met all these people in the hip-hop scene, and the first person I met in Antwerp was DJ Sake and Manuela. And Manuela was my first girlfriend. And like she was like, yeah, I heard about this guy who's rapping. And she was also rapping. We're like the only two kids there, and we were rapping. Sake was also rapping, but he was also a DJ. So Manuela is like, she's Yakit K, the girl who did Pump Up the Jam with Technotronic. And she was my first girlfriend. And then I was hanging out in Antwerp, and I knew everybody in the scene, the hip-hop scene in Antwerp, all the graffiti writers. Like at 15, I already knew people in every city. Like I was a young kid, but I knew people everywhere. It was just because my father was going to all these cities, and I met people everywhere. And at 15, I was already performing in Brussels, Planca, in where is that? In Molenbeek, I think, yeah. Then I started working with Sake, and I had my first group with Manuela, Sake, Arcus, Beat Wizard Knee, and that crew was called Kick the Bass. I still have the demo recording of that. But like, you know, I met some guys in Bruges, and all of a sudden I met DJ Grasshopper, and we just clicked, and we started making demo tapes from there. And you know, the thing is, well, I was always hanging around DJs, but I wasn't actually the DJ. I was a dancer, and then I evolved to I was the MC, the rapper. Because the rapping thing was also like, you know, I never planned to be a rapper. I was just walking around and rapping all the... Now, here's a little story that must be told about two young brothers that were put on hold. They tried to hold us back from fortune and fame. I just knew all the lyrics by heart, and people were like, yeah, man, you could fucking rap. But I started freestyling and shit, and they're like, you can rap. I said, yeah, I don't think I can rap, really. Yeah, no, really, you should get into it. You should become a rapper. I said, no, I mean, I'm just doing this for fun. So it all just came natural. I don't know how this happened. I mean... People are like, well, how the fuck did this shit happen? I don't know. It just happened, you know? And that's when I became a rapper. In that first group, then it changed. Then I became... Then I went into the second group. I made a group with Grasshopper, and that group became Rhyme Cut Core. And we started making these demo tapes. And the demo tapes were really crazy. Like that was like, you know, in the time when you had a ghetto blaster, and you could put two tapes in there. So what Manuela used to make demos like that as well. Like it was, you could like actually overdub. You know, you could copy tapes, but you could also overdub. You didn't have like a 4-track or a 6-track, but you know, he would make a loop on one tape, and then go again on that, and then overdub and overdub and overdub. So you had like all these loops. There wasn't even we didn't even have a sampler yet. He didn't have no Technics turntable. He had a Play Toy turntable that he was scratching on, and he made a thing like this, a box like this, which you know, later they were talking about the Transformer scratch. I think Cash Money or Jazzy Jevin invented it, but I think it was Cash Money. But you know, he just made this thing like Radio Shack, you know, that you get at the Tandy store. He just made a thing like this with a Play Toy turntable, and he was scratching with it. He didn't have no crossfader or nothing. We didn't have a mixer, but we made demo tapes with this, and I was rapping over it, but it sounded really dodgy. We still have those tapes. I posted some of them on SoundCloud, and I sent those tapes to some guys, like for example MC Mellow out in the UK. And all of a sudden, my mom is like, yeah, some guy called you from London on the phone. And I was like, what the fuck? I gave him the tape. I think we saw him at a concert in Utrecht. And I was also writing for a magazine at that time, Def Magazine, which was like the first Belgian hip-hop magazine. Some guys were doing it. But I was like so much into writing that I wrote almost everything for the magazine that at a certain moment, I did the whole magazine. Like 30, but it was like a fanzine, you know. And... yeah, I was doing all that stuff, and through that, I met a guy in Amsterdam, and that guy picked us up as well. So we started performing in Amsterdam with Rhyme Cut Core, like every month almost. So a lot of people knew us in Amsterdam. And at that time, you know, I was always a rapper, but I was always hanging around the DJs, DJ Sake. I knew how it went, and you know, after hours, I got to play on their turntables as well. So I could mix. I knew how to mix. But they were like in a different league. They were turntablists. They could scratch and spin back and stuff. But I just like to play music. And I was collecting the music as well. I was really into digging into crates and finding samples and the originals and all that stuff and finding original soul albums. And I found a lot of stuff like for really cheap, like Les Poets 7 inches, like for 10 francs, you know, that, you know, and I had all these things, mailing lists from the UK, from the whole rare groove scene, and I could see which albums were like going really expensive, and sometimes I was like, oh, that must be a good album. I didn't know what the fuck it was, but I remembered the title, and I would see it somewhere, and I pick up the album, like Sweetback's Badass Song, by, you know, Melvin Van Peebles. I saw it in the free record store. I was like, fuck, I need to get this shit. I came home. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And, you know, all these stuff like the Natural 4 on Curtain Records. I knew, you know, I'm like very much like a catalog, you know. And yeah, you know, I think I only started DJing like, when was that? When did I start DJing? Around the year 2000? No, it was earlier, right? No, it was before that. I think I started DJing in the mid-90s when I was still working with Grasshopper and with De Puta Madre. It was in the mid-90s somewhere. I mean, I never considered myself a DJ. It's like I never considered myself a rapper, but I was at certain parties. I would bring some records as well, and after Grass did his set, I would spin a little bit as well. But Grass really didn't like no R&B or soul or something. You know, we used to spin together at a lot of acid jazz rare groove parties. Like the parties that they did in Antwerp at Samson as well, you know, with the Groove Merchant from Plastics Magazine. We used to spin there, and I always had all the tunes. I was really the one collecting the tunes. Grass as well, but I was really digging, and going to all the record stores. And all the money we made with Rhyme Cut Core, I was spending it all on records. I was addicted to buying records, you know, and sometimes we got into problems as well. He was like, yeah, what are you doing? And like, all the money's going in records. But somehow later on in life, you know, at a certain moment when we split up, it was pretty painful as well because the whole collection got split in two. But it was still a lot of records if you split it up in two, you know. And at that time, people came to us already like, oh my God, you guys got a lot of fucking records.
You played at, you DJ'd at the Culture Club early, maybe 2000, something
yeah,
like
you know, and that's when, you know, my whole DJ career, or people like really started seeing me as a DJ. But like I said, I started playing after Grasshopper and sets, and then I was like playing Mary J. Blige stuff, and all the ladies loved that, and I was playing All Night Long by the Mary Jane Girls, and I was playing more like R&B soulful stuff, while they were playing more like the hardcore Ultramagnetic MC hip-hop stuff and shit. But I like to play for the ladies, you know? And it's not like I really wanted... but, you know, even Graz and me, we played at those parties by Cleo in Brussels, like back in the days, because of guys that I knew, the breakdance scene. We played at those parties, you know, where it was only black guys and Moroccan guys. We performed in Molenbeek, like with Rhyme Cut Core, and then we played reggae. Before that, we had a lot of reggae influences as well, because we had a Jamaican guy in Rhyme Cut Core. And we performed once in Molenbeek, and it was only Moroccans and black guys, you know, really. And we were like two white guys there from Flanders performing, and everybody was like, rah, going wild. They fucking loved it, you know. And it was really crazy. And we also played before and after sometimes after the performance we did. So the whole performance we did sometimes was like a sound system thing as well, you know. We would come in and play some music, then he would start spin backing, I would start rapping. Like, you know, I'm never gonna forget, the first time we performed in Amsterdam, we came into the room and it was only black guys. Only black guys, you know, everybody was black, and I was starting to do like Jamaican stuff, but we also had a Jamaican guy in the crew, and they were like everybody was looking at us like this, and I was like, what the fuck, you know. And we just went on, and we performed for an hour. I freestyled for an hour, because I was also known because I just freestyle, you know. I mean, I never write no songs. I just rapped for an hour freestyle, and we finished the performance, and I'm like, what the fuck, you know? Everybody was standing there looking at, because they're like rude boys in Amsterdam, they're looking at us like, what the fuck, this white boy speaking Jamaican and shit, you know? They're looking at us, and that was like one of the most incredible moments in my life, you know? We did the whole performance, but I wasn't chickening out or something, you know? I was just doing my thing, I kept doing my thing, and we stopped the performance, and everybody just started applauding. They all went like this. I was like, no, normally you don't see black people applauding, you know what I mean? Or a hip-hop rude boy is gonna be like, say ho. Everybody went like this, they clapped their hands. And that was one of the most fucking amazing moments of my life, really. That was really sick. But anyway, that's beside the question. You were talking about the culture club. I started playing parties in Antwerp. I started playing like 95, 96. All of a sudden, I was playing in Ghent, but a lot of people were hating on me because they were like, Grasshopper is the DJ, you guys split up, and you are not the DJ, you are the rapper, you're not supposed to be a DJ. I was like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, I got records, and when I play, women dance. So but I wasn't getting booked anywhere, except for one club, which was a black club, an African guy who running a black club, and there was only black guys and Moroccans in there. It was really like ghetto, hardcore shit. And I was playing like Denise Edwards, Don't Look Any Further, and shit, outstanding by the Gap Band, and people were like, oh shit, wow, what the fuck? And black people were loving it. And no white people came in there. There were even like some white guys that I knew came in there and got beat up. And I was like, yeah, I feel kind of good in here. But next to that place, they were doing, I think it was like an ex-Renault garage. And during the Hansefeesten, they were doing Dirk from Eskimo was throwing a party there like for 10 days. And they had a second room. And Nerings was playing in the second room, and another guy, and one day he got sick. And I was playing at the African place, was just next door, and Dirk was like, yeah, maybe you want to come and fall in. I was like, oh, what the fuck, you're going to give me a chance all of a sudden? Like I'm a DJ now? Because if black people dance to me, I must be okay, right? And I got in there, I started playing. I already played at a couple of small loft parties and P-Funk parties in Ghent. I started playing, the whole place ran full. And they were like, fuck it, we just keep you on. And I played there the next year as well. I played every day. Every day, that was my room. But then everybody was like, oh, that's the R&B room, that's the R&B room. Well, I never wanted to be defined as an R&B DJ, and I don't like that fucking stigma, you know, because I am not an R&B DJ. I just like fucking play black music, whatever. I play grooves, I play bass lines. But, you know, that's how it went. And Renault Garage, then they did the Eskimo parties. And when we started doing the Eskimo parties, then I started playing together with Doors from Puta Madre, because it was that whole period. And then I played in Brussels as well, a lot, at Food at the Full Moon, every 2 weeks. And it was really crazy because it was really high. You had to carry the crates up there. You know, it was really fucking sick, but it was great to play in Brussels. I love to play in Brussels. And I was playing, then they started doing the Eskimo parties, and in no time we had an R&B room in there, and the R&B room was like, you know, 800 to 700, sometimes 1,000 people, and we were playing on a turbo sound, and it was fucking wicked because we were playing Who Am I by Beanie Man, and it was just, you know, those rhythms came out, and you put it on a 12-inch by VP Records, and you would play it on the turbo sound, and nobody ever heard it like that, you know, the sub bass would come out like, who am I, the gyal them sugar. But there was a sub coming out and there was like, oh fuck, we're fucking killing this shit. Sake and all those guys were like getting pissed off, you know, like, oh fuck, TLP is like, because he was trying to do R&B parties in Ghent, and it always got fucked up because all these guys from the north of France came, and it was fighting, and our parties like were more like okay and sexy and a lot of women, which is what R&B parties are supposed to be about. And the whole thing was like Eskimo, then they started Club 69. And then I started playing there on a Thursday, every Thursday night. And every Thursday night it was packed. And then they started the Culture Club, and then I just was a resident at Culture Club from day one. And I'm still resident there. So that's like, how many years? 12 years? Mm-hmm. So now you know the whole story. I hope that wasn't too long. But
is it why you also play in Paris now? Because of the Culture Club? It helped?
Yeah, sort of. You know, but what happened is like, this is really... this goes way back, you know. When I was working with Grass, we also got picked up by Manu Baron, who was working for Aéronef in Lille. Because people are like, how the fuck you get to that whole thing? But, you know, Manu Baron was saying, yeah, well, I'm going to do like a culture project with hip-hop, and I want you guys to be involved. It never materialized. But we were hanging out with Manu Baron in Lille, and from that day on, I knew him. And later on, he booked TLP and Doors quite a couple of times in... at Doer Festival. So we played at Doer Festival. We played in front of big crowds already, you know, like, you know, in the big hall at Doer Festival. Once we had to stand in, we were playing there, and Afrika Bambaataa and Arthur Baker were late. And he was like, yeah, can you just stand in for them? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And so I knew Manu Baron, but really like from 20 years ago already. So the whole thing, we're playing at Doer Festival. Then He even booked me at La Villette in Paris. So I played in Paris before. And then, you know, I heard he had the social club. But at a certain moment, he was very close to Dirk from Eskimo Recordings. And at a certain moment, he was even in Ghent a lot and working for Culture Club a little bit as well. So, you know, that we've always been like friends. So when I heard about this Club Silencio, I was thinking like, fuck, I want to go play there. You know, that's the kind of club that I want to play in Paris because I think it's going to be cool. And but I'm not the kind of guy. I never ask for nothing in life. Never. I never go beg. I never promote myself. Shit just happens. It has to come to you. You know, but if I would be more ambitious, I would have already recorded an album with Rhymecut Core. I'm not ambitious enough, you know. I just let shit happen. And you know, sometimes if I would be more ambitious, I could be much bigger. But I don't know. Is that laziness? I don't know what it is, you know. But at the same time, I've always had enough work, you know.
How do you see your life in maybe 15 years' time?
I don't know. I hope I'm still alive.
DJ?
Yeah, I'm never going to stop DJ. I'm never going to stop doing what I do. I can't. I don't know what else I'm going to... I mean, I could do a lot of other things because I've also been a writer. I've interviewed, you know, I've interviewed so many artists. When I was writing for Plastics magazine, I was writing for a long time. But you know, you're not gonna make as much money writing as DJing, right?
Do you have a main influence as a DJ today?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's a couple of DJs that I really look up to, and most of them are mostly like legendary DJs who are also doing stuff from, you know, with different genres, you know. And I'm very proud that I've also been able to meet them personally and play together with them and have them dance to my set. You know, because I'm always like, yeah, you can invite them, like, hey, it's cool. But like last time we booked Tony Touch at KVS, at the end he hung out and he came to me afterwards, God damn, you're a sick motherfucker. And I was really, because I saw him in the room and he was dancing all the time to my set. So Tony Touch, Rich Medina are like two of my favorite DJs and biggest influences. Norman J. Like most of these guys are like really older guys, you know. Norman J definitely as well. And Louis Vega. But you know, I think, yeah, that's about it. And yeah, some reggae DJs, Papa Rodigan. Yeah, you know, the foundation, you know. Because, yeah, I just like, you know, grooves and natural grooves. But the one thing is weird about me is that, and something that I'm very proud of at the same time, is that I don't know a lot of people who can play for 16-year-old kids and who can also play for 45-year-old people. And like the last couple of weeks, you know, he's my driver, he knows that he's with me. Sometimes I'm playing at La Rocca in front of R&B crowd, and I'm playing Tyga, I'm playing trap, I'm playing twerk shit, which is even for them sometimes progressive, or like too new. And after that, I'm playing with Norman J at KVS, and I'm playing Fela Kuti and Stevie Wonder, and you know what I mean. And you could say, like, do you have an identity crisis or do you just spin everything? You know, at the same time, I could go to a dance hall party and play dance hall all night, you know. But I think I keep it credible at all times. It's just, you know, it's not always. It's strange to see the evolution in music. I like bass lines, but I also like digital bass. You know what I mean? I like to really groove to a Fela Kuti bass line, but I also like digital bass, so I like trap music, and I like the new bass music that is going on as well. And that's what I do in my radio show as well, which I'm very proud of, that I have a radio show where I can broadcast and, you know, show everything that I'm into musically. Because in the beginning, they gave me a reggae radio show, which is only a part of me. And that radio show got a lot of props, and it was really good too, because I was also doing like an hour of roots and an hour of dancehall music. But now I'm like doing what I'm doing and present, yeah. And I'm very proud to be doing this. I don't consider myself a great DJ technically, but I do believe that, and a lot of people say that to me, that I am a very good DJ when it comes to selecting and selection is very important. But you know, one day you're gonna get your selection right and look at the crowd and get the right vibe, and the next day you might completely not get it. You know, it depends on the crowd, yourself, your mood. But you know, I don't like to leave a dance floor without people, and even when it's really hard, I'm gonna fight, you know, to have at least 10 people dancing.
Okay, I heard that we have to stop.
Okay,
but
because when I start talking, I don't stop.
Yeah, that's just